Hi again. I've been talking about the usethis package and how to use it for pull requests so that you can work with pull requests in a very fluid way. Before I did three videos actually about a simple use case, and today I'm going to be talking about a more complex case, or at least the case where you are not the person who initiates the pull request, but someone who brings a pull request that someone else contributed, and you work on that. So here it is, an organization where I work and a repository that I'm working with some colleagues, and my colleague Jackson has submitted a new pull request, number 164. I noticed that he's doing so, although he does have privileges to merge and to make changes into the organization's repo, he's doing it from his fork. Sometimes we follow that pattern, we find it useful. So he submitted from his fork of the main repository this pull request number 164. And I have quickly reviewed this PR on GitHub, and I already noticed something that needs to be changed. I came here to files changed, and I explored what the pull request looked like. And I made a little comment on a section doing something like this. And here it is, an open conversation that I have initiated where I suggest to add this call to invisible data inside a function that Jackson created. So I requested those changes, and now my comment appears in the thread of the conversation associated to this pull request. So I'm going to do the change myself in this case. So I'm going to jump to RStudio, and I'm going to use, as I have been doing before, the usethis package. Remember, I attached the usethis package, and I'm going to use the function prfetch in this case to get that pull request from GitHub into my local RStudio session. So the pull request is number 164, and that's all I need to do. Now usethis is going to do a bunch of things on my behalf. Let's have a quick look at something to highlight. Okay, so it is checking that the PR, checking out that PR. Right, it's creating a local branch that has the name of the contributor and then the name of the branch that the contributor decided that PR would have. It is setting also a connection between my local repository and the branch on the fork of the contributor. And that is very interesting because the contributor GitHub account is this one here, and he created this branch 160 duplicated ID loan bug, and through this connection I am now able to push directly commits into his fork. So I'm not going to be committing into the main repository but into the branch that the contributor initiated. That's really interesting. And now it's kind of also switching to that local branch that we created in the previous step. So we created a branch here, and now we switch to it. And we also pull any changes from GitHub that the PR might have. Okay, I think we are good to go. So just in case, I'm going to run git sitrep to show you the situation report. I'm interested in showing you the readiness for pull requests, showing you that my origin remote is pointing to my own fork, which we are not going to be using for this exercise. It has been forked from the same place where Jackson forked his that repo and then worked on the pull request. And upstream, the remote upstream is pointing to this main repository. Okay. Also, there is this local branch here that is pointing to, as I said before, to the branch on the fork of the contributor. And this is the connection that we will be using to submit the changes. So that's a lot of explanation. maybe more than you usually need to know. What's important here is that we are ready to go. So we are now standing on a branch that, actually let me refresh this because this doesn't look right. There we go. We are standing on a branch that makes a lot of sense. It's pointing to a contributor's fork, and we are ready to find the file that we want to modify. So I'm going to do that in front of you. The file is called utils.r, and it's around in line 19 that I want to work. So let's do that, utils.r, and let's go to line 19. So here I think that this function is missing a call to invisible because it's called for its side effect. So in the case that this if statement is true, then this function is going to abort, and that's fine. But if this if statement is not true, if it's false, then I want to return the data, the first argument of the function, so that this function becomes a pipeable. So that's it. Now the change that I did appears here on the Git pane. So let's commit that change. Let's do make check unique ID pipeable. That's my commit. So the next step is then to run, tests and checks to make sure that everything continues to work. On GitHub, I saw that the checks were passing okay. There is this one check that I'm ignoring because it's a known problem that relates not to our source code, but all the checks are running fine, meaning that the tests and checks should run fine, and they are. So I'm going to also run DevTools check, and in the meantime I'm going to prepare for push. So PR push, I think I did show this function before. What we are doing is sending those commits, or in this case this one commit that I have made, we are sending it up to GitHub, and in this case we are sending it not to the main repository, not to my fork, but instead we are sending it to the fork of the contributor that submitted this pull request, which is super interesting. Okay, so the checks passed okay. Apparently there is something here on spelling, so let's try fix that too. Or actually no, let's leave that for another pull request, so we leave things related to all problems related to this specific pull request. Okay, so let's run PR push. Again, we review what it is doing. It's doing a lot of things for us. Let me do this a little smaller. It is checking that my local branch has all the changes that exist on my contributor's fork, which is great because he might have added some new commit that I don't have locally, and then push that, my local branch was now pushed to my contributor's fork. And also it is giving me information about where I can find the pull request if I want to view it, or I can also run the very convenient function PR view. Let's do that. That will open up that pull request on the web browser. So let's scroll down. I can now say I've done it. I can comment what I have just done and resolve the conversation. And as you can see, the commit that did that is just this one here, which we could review. There it is, the change. We added invisible. And now I'm going to just wait for these checks to give me the results, hopefully to pass, before continuing the conversation with the contributor and decide if we want to merge. So that's it for now. Again, let's go back to our studio to leave you with what we've done today. I have used prfetch to first bring the PR, then I did the change that I wanted to do, then I pushed it back, and then with PR push, and finally I used PR view to see the state of the thing on GitHub. Okay, see you next time.